When the sun stood still, the victory at Gibeon. The land of Canaan was a place of many kings, fortified cities, and ancient peoples who had lived for generations in valleys, on mountaintops, and by the sea. Each city-state was ruled by its own king, each confident in their defenses and the gods they worshipped. But then came the Israelites, nomads led by a former Egyptian prince turned prophet, Joshua, a servant of the living God. The name of Joshua became feared throughout the land. Word of Israel's conquest spread like wildfire. The people of Canaan heard how the Jordan River had parted, how Jericho's walls fell without a single battering ram, and how Ai, though mighty, had been taken with divine guidance. Kings trembled, and alliances began to form. But not all sought war. The Gibeonites, residents of a great city with wise men among them, saw the writing on the wall. Instead of resisting, they approached Israel with a plan, cleverly disguising themselves as ambassadors from a distant land, wearing worn-out clothes and carrying moldy bread to appear as travelers from afar. They pleaded for a peace treaty, and Joshua, though initially unaware of the ruse, made a covenant of peace with them. When the deception was discovered, the Israelites were angry but bound by their oath. The Gibeonites were spared destruction but were made servants, woodcutters and water carriers, for the house of God. Though their method was deceitful, their faith in Israel's God and their desire for survival changed their fate. News of Gibeon's alliance with Israel shocked the neighboring Amorite kings. Gibeon was not a weak village, it was a large and powerful city with skilled warriors. For Gibeon to yield without a fight sent fear rippling through the heart of Canaan. Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, was incensed. He feared what the alliance meant and how it would tip the balance of power in favor of Israel. He quickly sent messages to the kings of Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon, Hoam, Piram, Japhia, and Debir, urging them to join forces. "Come up and help me attack Gibeon," he said, because it has made peace with Joshua and the Israelites. The 5 kings agreed, and a formidable army was assembled. Their strategy was not to fight Israel directly but to punish Gibeon for defecting. By crushing Gibeon, they hoped to send a message: alliances with Israel would not be tolerated. In the early dawn, the 5 kings marched toward Gibeon with vengeance in their hearts. The city, now under Israel's protection, watched in terror as the allied forces approached. Gibeon was strong, but it could not stand alone against 5 kings. Messengers were sent in haste to Gilgal, where Joshua and the Israelite camp were located. Breathless and urgent, they cried, "Do not abandon your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us. Help us, because all the Amorite kings from the hill country have joined forces against us." Joshua, a man of honor and unwavering faith, did not hesitate. Though the treaty had been born from deceit, he had given his word. More importantly, the Gibeonites had chosen peace. They had chosen Israel's God over the false gods of Canaan. That was enough. He gathered his warriors, priests, and tribal leaders. In the darkness of night, Joshua led his army on an uphill march from Gilgal to Gibeon. It was a grueling journey, but not once did they stop. God had spoken to Joshua before the march began, "Do not be afraid of them. I have given them into your hand. Not one of them will be able to withstand you." Joshua pressed on. As the morning sun rose, the 5 kings expected an easy victory over Gibeon. But to their astonishment, the Israelites arrived unexpectedly, storming in with full force. The element of surprise and the confidence of divine backing gave Israel a distinct advantage. The Amorite armies, caught off guard, were thrown into confusion. The Israelites fought with a fervor fueled by righteousness, while fear spread among the Amorites like wildfire. Sword clashed against sword, and the cries of battle echoed through the hills of Gibeon. The enemy fled toward the descent of Beth Horon, hoping to escape into the valley, but Joshua's forces pursued them relentlessly. Then, something extraordinary happened. God himself intervened. As the Amorites fled down the slopes, the Lord hurled down great hailstones from the sky. These were no ordinary hailstones. Each one struck with divine precision. More Amorites died from the hail than by the swords of Israel. The battlefield turned into a testament of God's might. Despite the overwhelming victory, daylight began to fade. Joshua realized that if night fell, some of the Amorite kings might escape under cover of darkness. The full measure of justice and deliverance would remain incomplete. At that moment, Joshua lifted his eyes to the heavens and prayed a prayer unlike any before or since. Before all Israel, he cried out, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and moon, over the Valley of Aijalon." For a whole day, time paused. The battle continued under the unmoving sun, and Joshua's army brought complete defeat upon the Amorites. Never before had a day been like it, when the Lord listened to a man and altered the course of the cosmos. The sun did not set until justice was done and the victory complete. The 5 Amorite kings, Adonizedek, Hoam, Piram, Japh, and Debir, fled and hid themselves in a cave at Makkedah. Word reached Joshua, and he ordered the entrance of the cave sealed with large stones and guards stationed outside. After the battle was fully won, Joshua returned to the cave. He commanded the stones be rolled away and the kings brought before him. The leaders of Israel's tribes stood around as Joshua instructed his generals, "Come near and put your feet on the necks of these kings." It was a symbolic act, not of cruelty, but of triumph. Joshua then declared, "Do not be afraid or discouraged. Be strong and courageous. This is what the Lord will do to all the enemies you are going to fight." The kings were executed and their bodies displayed briefly before being thrown back into the cave, which was sealed again. With the 5 kings defeated, Israel's campaign in the southern part of Canaan surged forward. City after city fell: Makkedah, Libnah, Lachish, Eglon, Hebron, and Debir. In each place, Joshua carried out complete destruction, as God had commanded. But the story was not merely one of war, it was of fulfillment. The promises made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were coming to pass. The land God swore to give their descendants was being taken, one step at a time. Joshua trusted God with every step. He did not deviate, did not seek personal glory, and did not show partiality. He acted as God's appointed servant, carrying out justice, mercy, and obedience in balance. The day the sun stood still became legendary in Israel's history. For generations, elders told their children of the battle at Gibeon, where God listened to a man's voice and paused the heavens. It was not just about military victory. It was about faith. Joshua dared to ask the impossible. He believed that the God who split the sea and tore down Jericho's walls could suspend time itself. And God did. The people learned that bold prayer, backed by unwavering trust and righteous intent, had power. That day, heaven bent toward earth in response to faith. Moral lesson: bold faith moves heaven. The story of the sun standing still teaches us a profound truth, that bold faith, rooted in obedience and righteousness, can change the course of history. Joshua did not pray for the sun to stop out of pride or selfish gain. He prayed so that justice would be complete, so that evil would not escape, and so that God's promise would be fulfilled. His prayer was bold, impossible by human standards, yet it was heard and answered. This story challenges us today to pray boldly, believing that nothing is too hard for God. Act courageously, knowing that God fights for those who walk in His ways. Honor even when made under imperfect circumstances. Trust God's timing, for He controls not only events but time itself.
Thanks for watching Bible Takes. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.